Hello, hello. Hi there. Hi, Hillary.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Alexandra. Hi, Laura. Say something so I can see if I can hear you.
Could you hear me?
I hear you, Hillary.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Alexandra.
How are you?
Welcome. Laura, say something so I can hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello. I can hear you.
Great.
Get my backdrop
Little
settled.
background noise. Johnny's building his bureau dresser.
So how are you all tonight?
Good.
Great.
Are your spirits ready
Yes.
for number 3 on the path?
Yes. Ready.
Anything anyone want to check in on before we jump in? Looks like just 4 of us are here right now. Ready to start?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So glad that you are here. I had such a great week preparing for tonight. As I said in my email, this is my absolute favorite topic. Any chance to talk about spirit, spirituality, soul work, intuition, energy. This is what I love. Hi, Trisha. Welcome. Hi, Caitlin. This is the topic I love. But I had a really interesting experience when I was preparing of the 3 groups, although this is my favorite topic. This was the hardest one for me to prepare for tonight. And it was only today, maybe just a few hours ago, that it occurred to me why that was. And it is that spirituality is so personal, right? I mean, you each have your own spiritual path, your own spiritual connection. It may be more or less important to you. You may be very engaged with it. You may have a religious background that you aspire to, or you practice, or maybe you don't. And I was thinking, oh, no wonder I had so much trouble. How could I teach you or tell you about spirituality when it is so personal? And I think that was what was kind of tripping me up. And I realized, for the first 4 or 5 days that I was preparing, that I was kind of talking about my spirituality. And I said, wait a minute, this is your group. So once that became clear to me, I said, I really wanted to start by saying that I wanted to honor your own spiritual journey. If this is something that's incredibly important to you, maybe one of the most important things in your life, that's wonderful. If it's something isn't, comfortable for you or easy, or, you're a little hesitant, or you've had challenges with religion or spirituality in the past, then that's fine too. So I just wanted you to bring your soul, your spirit, your energy, your intuition, all of it here. And really tonight is about all the sort of non-duality stuff, right? All the things that we can't really measure, that science can't prove, that are underneath all of the mind and body stuff that really connects us and makes us us, is our spirituality and our soul work. So I invite you to be wherever you are along this trajectory. And I invite you to sort of listen to my stories and invite you to share yours, because there'll be lots of opportunities to sort of prompt and say, what have some peak experiences been for you, or what are you aspiring to, or where is this important or not important? So there'll be times that I'll be posing those questions, and you certainly can come on and speak, because I've watched and listened to both of our groups again, and how wonderful to visit with all of you again. And the sharing was the best part of the group. So I hope that you will feel open and vulnerable and willing to share your questions, your concerns, your challenges. So with that, welcome all of you to Spirituality tonight. So here we are with our spirits. Here we are with the minds, the beliefs, the bodies that we've spent so much time together on. I sent you an email with some prosperity consciousness ideas and sort of beliefs and values. Hi, Emily. Welcome. And so tonight we're going to put it all together and say what's really what's the real important soul purpose.
My audio went, so I'm trying to fix that. Just so you know, I'll be coming in and out for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I've lost that whole beginning.
Can you hear me?
No,
you
barely.
Can't hear.
So I got to fix it.
Okay. It's probably Zoom.
It's me. No, it's me.
Okay.
I'll fix it.
Okay. Fix it and jump back on. It could be that you're on mute on Zoom. Okay. Well, she can't hear me for me to talk.
No, I'm not. I'll fix it.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay. So anything that anybody wants to start with? Anything that's kind of burning that you were anticipating? Was this a topic that you were looking forward to? Something that you were hesitant about? Any reflections?
I'm looking forward to this one. Maybe this one feels the most comfortable to me in some ways, and I'm looking to maybe deepen in that area. I think spirit tends to be my easier place. So I've been just looking forward to it.
And what's spirit mean to you and to any of you before we drop down into some of the more specific topics?
Good question. I think for me, it has been cultivating a sense of faith over the past several years and just a belief that there's something out there larger than myself. And when things feel hard, I tend to fall back on that.
And do you have a belief that there is something there?
At times.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know? As I'm asking Hillary these questions, I invite you to answer them for yourselves too. So how do you know? And this is not a right or wrong. It's just what's challenging about this inquiry.
I don't know. I mean, I said to one of my teachers recently, or not so recently, that I don't know what I believe. I just know that it gives me comfort to believe that there is something bigger out there than myself. And I think I do tend to come back to the idea that things always do work out. I mean, I'm still here. I still have a roof over my head and my kids are fed and I have a job I love. And I think of the things that I've stressed about in my life. And, you know, when I let go and trust, they tend to work out. And there are places where I struggle with that trust, but in the places that I've cultivated that faith and really held on to it, I've seen that things work out the way that they should. Maybe not the way that I imagined, but the way that they should. So I think I've been excited for this mostly because I tend to lose my sense of faith here and there. So just gaining a better understanding of it, I'm excited for that.
You said so much. Just what you said, Hillary, we could all just comment and ask questions and dive in and do nothing else, but just respond to that. It is so much. There's so much breadth and so much depth to this topic. So I'm curious for you to each answer for yourself, whether you want to do it out loud or silently. What is spirit or spirituality? And then I kind of tossed in these other tiny topics, intuition and energy. Yeah, just, you know, things that people could spend their entire lives studying, of course. And in an hour and a half, we're going to fully cover all of it. But anything else that came to you or that means to you, a word or a phrase or experiences? How do you know when you're spiritually connected? Is there a sort of an underlying belief system, like you were saying, Hillary, you know, the universe will, like, things will work out. You know, that's that prosperity consciousness. If you had a chance to print that out that I sent to you, I think it was yesterday.
I think, hi, it's Caitlin. I think for me, I have a lot to go with my spirituality, and I've kind of had ebbs and flows with my faith throughout my life, but there is something about whether it's like meditation or prayer that you get these little signs in the universe that I guess to know if something bigger is really out there, there's little messages or signs or you know, just like what she was saying, that something happens, it may not be what you wanted or you hoped for, but it all makes it work out. So it is like you get answers through things. for me. That's how I kind of know there's something bigger, because the little signs in the universe come and help me. So
you're talking about affirmations or confirmations that there's some kind of guidance there or some kind of meaning.
yeah, like you hope for something so much and you somehow get some kind of variation of that, or a feeling like a prayer has been answered in a way. So yeah.
Remember how I shared with you that story about my friend Darcy? The angel came to her in the dream for the message to me.
Yes.
She's going to get everything she wants, but it's not going to be in the form she expects it.
Right.
And, that couldn't be more true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and I think when we let go, I think that's one of the benefits of getting older, and all of us are adults, none of us are teens or, early 20s, that we have some wisdom about what we're asking for and what may come. It may or may not look like what we had imagined or what we had wanted. And having faith is, believing that you'll get what you need. It might not necessarily be what you want. And it might be much later that you say, I get it. If I had known when I was 25 that I wouldn't be a mother until I was 41, I would have been devastated. But it was the biggest blessing that I had such wisdom and maturity when Josh was born. That would have killed me. I mean, I have to wait that long, but that was such the right thing to happen, not only for him, but for me. So I think only with perspective, and we're going to have an opportunity to visit our inner guides again tonight, to check back in with her, just to give us that guidance, because sometimes we just want so much what we want now, right? And detaching from that is a really important part of faith, that you just put it out there and you see what comes back to you. So any other comments about spirit or spirituality, or knowing that we were going to meet tonight, like what you were hoping for or what it means to you?
I'm back.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. You hear us now?
Yep,
Excellent. You fixed it.
I did.
Fantastic. Welcome. So here we are, group 3. We were going to meet for 3 sessions, and this is our 3rd one for this go around on this module, this sacred altar, this time and space, excuse me, to remind you to turn off the cell phones, turn off distractions, close the door, just settle down into what's comfortable, and let this time be only for you, reflecting upon what was really helpful when we spent the other hour and a half, the 2 other hour and a half, and create that now too. And luckily the technology has not horribly failed, which was my fear the first time. It hasn't happened. So your wisdom map is really what we're starting to create here. And this group really is, just dipping a little toe in the water, sort of the overview, the real basics about these things, about mind, body, and spirit. How could we possibly dig down in an hour and a half on each of those topics, much more than an introduction to start giving you some sparks. So I want to ask you, how are you doing with your thoughts, with your beliefs? How are you doing about your body? Have you revisited with your wise inner guide? Has there been anything that's been meaningful to you that you've taken along? And we'll continue to build on that wisdom map tonight, on your inner compass, intuition, and spirituality. And look at that picture I found. It's like a little, I don't know what it is, a little elf house or something, a little fairy house. I just fell in love with this picture. I think I found it on Pinterest when I first found Pinterest, and I said, oh, this would be the perfect picture to drop down into. Something about it just looks really cozy and embracing nature and art. So intuition, spirituality, and energy. These topics, like I said, are so huge and so expansive. I want to start with, what does your soul know? And when I say soul and spirit, those are fairly interchangeable words when I'm using them, although they don't always mean the same thing. So you might hear me use one or the other and realize that I'm kind of flip-flopping with the meaning, just meaning that part of you that isn't your mind and isn't your body, that deeper knowing, that guide, connecting with your inner purpose, with something larger than you, divine, God, Jesus, goddess, animals, nature, however you use those words, they're your words, your connection. And what I love about this is this quote kind of connects us back to our last 2 meetings, but particularly the first one. The soul usually knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. So the soul is that part that will get really, when you get really, really quiet inside, has a particular knowing to guide you. So I want to ask you, as I asked when we were talking about mind, how are you right now in your spirit? Are you feeling connected to a larger purpose? Are you connected to meaning? Are you connected? Do you feel connected to others and in nature? Your intuition is, we're going to talk about the chakra system. The intuition is the sixth chakra, and the place on the body is right between the third eye, right between the eyebrows. That sense of knowing, and I'm going to tell you an unbelievable true story about intuition. That's not my story in a moment or a few moments. And then energy is when you can feel a sense of knowing. Did you ever go into a room and something icky happened there? Nobody's in there. You can't see or smell anything, but you go, ooh, I just don't like the way this feels. Or you see a person across the room and you go, I just have to know that person. That's energy. There's some sense when you're connecting with spirit and you're connected with intuition, you can use energy for healing. You can sense energy. So all of these things are in the soup tonight. So as we drop down into our meditation in a moment, I want you to sit with this question. From what source does your true, authentic voice speak? And when I'm asking about spirit and soul, this is really what I'm asking about. Is there a source? Is that source inside of you? Is there a source up in the ether? So where is it? Where does it come from? What is that? These are questions that we spend our lives searching for, because it is impossible other than our faith or our own knowing. As you were sharing, Hillary, like you just kind of know it when you feel it. So what source does your true authentic voice speak? And what tonight is about is finding these answers, or beginning to ask different questions about your personal journey. And like I was saying, for those of you that might not have heard the first minute or two, I had so much trouble planning tonight's meeting, and I couldn't figure out why, because this is my favorite topic. And I said, there are 8 of us. I don't know what your truth is. I don't know what your longing is and your spirit is. So I'm just giving you lots of prompts and lots of processes and tools and experiences for you to drop down into yourselves. So that's really what we're all about tonight, is you getting more in touch with yourself. So I want you to have an opportunity to get really comfortable. And we've done a whole bunch about mindset and beliefs. We've done a whole bunch about body. So you can take all of the learning that we've done already and prepare for this meditation. Give yourself an opportunity to really stretch, reaching the arms, usually arms, shoulders, shoulder blades, neck. These places are particularly tight. I invite you to bring your hands to the back of your neck. Give yourself a little massage up to the temples, the jaws. And you know me, I'm a big sound person. So making sounds. And settle back. You're sitting on a couch, a bed, a chair, wherever you are. Get yourself super duper comfortable. And if anything is tight, my pants are a little tight around the belly, so the top button is opening. You can't see that because it's lower, but I'm just telling you, the button is opening.
Where do you put my sweatpants on?
There you go, Emily. We're the queen. What was that movie about the pants? Something about Sisterhood of the Pants.
Yes, Sisterhood.
We're Sisterhood of the open pants, or the yoga pants if you're wearing them. I don't know about you, but I want to get really comfortable. So sit back. And let's start with that tri-level breathing that we did last week. Lower belly by the navel. Bring the breath up into the center abdomen, all the way up to the upper chest, to your collarbone, and then letting it out in the upper chest, middle belly, and lower belly. So take 3 or 4 rounds of tri-level breathing, abdominal breathing. Bring in a lot of breath. Let out a lot of breath. The relaxing breath is a long, steady, full exhale. Let the inhale come naturally. Focus on your exhale. We have a phrase in English, take a breath. I'm going to invite you to something different tonight. Receive a breath. can let your eyes close, let your gaze soften. This will be a centering meditation to connect with your spiritual self. And when I say centering, I mean connecting with the center of yourself. Beginning to focus on a place deep, deep inside, where the still small voice lives, the source that we were talking about a moment ago. Where's the source? Inside. And if you're feeling particularly racy, anxious, mind is busy, body is tense, place the palms of the hands down on your lap. If you're feeling grounded and open and ready to receive, palms face up. And if you'd like to be open to your spiritual connection, but you're not quite ready because you're feeling racy and busy and your day is still with you, begin the meditation with the palms face down, and then I'll guide you in another 1 to 2 minutes to turn your palms face up, because it is incredibly powerful energetically. A mudra is a hand posture in yoga. You've seen, this posture in Hinduism. That's a mudra. The posture of palms face up is a spiritually open posture. So I'd like to invite everybody to get there, but start with palms face down if you need to. Where does your spirit live? Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Set the intention to connect with your spiritual self. Bring your longing, your openness, your desire for divine spiritual connection right here and now. And as you feel the peace washing over you as your mind and body still, if you'd like to face your palms up now, go right ahead. And just be open to inquiry as to where your spiritual self is existing right now. And I will ask you to ask yourself and ask your spirit these questions. What is below standard in my life right now? What is less than what I'm needing, what I'm wanting, or what I deserve? What is less than ideal? What is below standard in my life? Your spirit knows. And breathe in and out on that. Let your spirit connect with what that feels like. Drop the thoughts. Notice the sensations and then let them go. What is preventing your ideal life? What is blocking you from living your dreams, if anything? Again, your spirit knows. If any part of you believes that all is available to you, what is blocking you? Or what more do you need from yourself or from around you, from others or other places or things to help you get there? And bring your knowing about what's below standard and what's preventing your ideal life and what's blocking you from living your dreams. Put that knowing right at your heart center and place your right hand or your dominant hand, if you're not a righty, right over the heart, holding that knowing there without judgment. And then place your other hand on top of your hand to feel that nurturing warmth. And feel that appreciation for your spirit letting you know what you need to know. And breathe in and out of that. There is no judgment. We're all on that journey. We're all on the next level of that spiral. None of us is in the place where we were this morning or yesterday or when we started this group or last year. And as we get clearer and clearer, what is not quite how we want it to be or it ought to be, and as we get clearer and clearer on what might be getting in the way or what more we need, either to release or to have, we can get there. So take 3 more deep breaths, holding this knowing, thanking your spirit for guiding you. And take your hands from your heart center and place them just like this, as if you're holding a giant beach ball. I'm raising them up so you can see, but they can just be down on your lap or just above your lap with the palms facing up. And whatever it is that you're needing to release, or whatever it is that you're needing to welcome in to bring you to that next step of embracing the life of your dreams, we're going to create this energy ball that all of us are holding together. So we're going to put whatever we need to release into this energy ball to let it out, and it will go to the light. And whatever we're wanting and needing, each of us in our own individual way, what will shower down upon us is exactly what we need. So I'm going to count to 3. And on the count of 3, you just lift your hands straight up over your head. We'll take a big inhale, and on the exhale, we'll just lift it up and let that energy ball go right into the universe. So take a deep inhale. 1, 2, 3, and exhale, let it go. And then just bring your hands down. And just let, again, energy is something that's so subtle. Just let yourself feel whatever might have released and whatever you've welcomed in, come right in. And if you'd like to share anything about what came to you, what might be substandard, or what you're needing to release or wanting, or anything else, what it was like to connect with spirit, or if you struggled connecting with spirit, you can just turn your mute off and just step forward and share.
Well, I'll share if that's okay.
Please.
My father passed away this past summer. So I've been having I don't know what I was releasing, but I was kind of releasing some sadness, some guilt, some anger, and just things surrounding his passing. And it felt pretty incredible.
Yeah. So how did you actually feel that, Emily? You said I felt it or experienced it. If there's a way to give words to that, that's a really powerful experience.
Yeah, just as soon as you said like letting go of something or however you described the ball and being able to release it together, it's I guess just like thinking about it in a physical way, like releasing a ball or releasing this energy, like being able to let go of that, because otherwise it kind of just like stays with you constantly. You think about it and it's on your mind. But being able to do an exercise like that where it's like releasing physically something helped a lot.
Yeah. And I think what I just thought of when you said that was the fact that we started out with mind and then body was really necessary. They were really the building blocks, because then look who needed to come. He's feeling the energy. He's crying to jump up on my lap. Jasper the spirit dog. It is really important that we spent so much time on the body last week, because now you can really feel why it is so necessary to actually physically do something. We were talking about the body-spirit connection or the mind-spirit connection. And you made a really good point that it did something spiritually for you, that you physically let go of the ball. Thank you. Welcome, Mariana.
Hi, sorry.
No problem, you're here. We just did a meditation to get in touch with spirit. So just bring your spirit here, whatever that means to you. And at the very end, we just sort of sent out into the universe what we needed to release to allow to shower down whatever we're needing more of.
So I'll speak. I'm racy tonight, and obviously getting annoyed. I got, it didn't help that I was broken for a moment there. But I want to do this session again when it's quieter here, because I really felt that I was close to releasing my some pride issues that I'm having with the financial issue that I just haven't faced. And I could feel that I released some of it. And that will help me face what I need to do. And it's more of a pride thing. It's not that I can't do it. It's just work, which is fine. But my pride has gotten in the way. But I hadn't realized that it was my pride that was the issue till tonight. So that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and talking about blocks, right? That's one of an infinite number of things that can be in the way. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely integral when I said, and I mean it, to let go of judgment. Say, okay, I noticed that, and now I can take a next step or be open. And Mariana, we had a chance at the very beginning to just talk about what spirit means to us: spirituality, intuition, energy, soul. So feel free to jump in just on grappling with the very difficult question to answer. Very personal. Anything else? How was that connecting with your spirit? And asking a painful question. What is not exactly as I'd like it to be?
I'm feeling a lot of emotion. Hearing Emily speak, my dad also passed away in early October. And that wasn't what I was meditating about, although now I want to redo the meditation. And I've been struggling with a story that just keeps repeating in my head, and it's like a lot of noise that I think is keeping me from focusing on the pain of my dad's death. And I feel like my faith or my spirit's been shaken over the past several months since he died. And this was helpful, maybe not the meditation itself, but actually like it woke me up a little bit to stuff that I'm probably not touching, that I probably need to look at. and feel. Because anytime I start to feel it, it feels too painful.
Yeah. And my hope for you, for you, Hillary, and for you, Emily, with the deaths of each of your fathers so recently, is that your spirituality can be a place of soothing, a place that can support you in grief. And it's a big journey that takes a while, as you're shaking your head, Laura. We've all had loss. We can't get to adulthood without losses. Many of us don't get through childhood without significant losses.
Correct. And yeah, so loss is very hard. Very, very, very hard. It took me a long time, and I'm still not all the way there.
Right. So anybody else, anything about what's less than how you'd like it to be, or what's blocking you, or what you're needing to release or needing more of?
Going back to what Hillary said, she was focused on something else and she wants to do it again. There was more than one thing that was racing through my head, that just doing one for each one of those things would be very helpful. So just meditating and working through that and focusing on each one, because I had at least 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And, that when we're saying focus on the spirit, then your mind is thinking a lot of things, or your body's feeling things, or emotionally there's a lot going there. So it's going on there. It's not necessarily easy to clear all that away and just get in touch with spirit. But because we've spent so much time each of these last 3 weeks on each of those, I think it's a little perhaps easier to at least designate what that would mean, to sort of let the thoughts go, let the sensations go, and just get in touch with spirit, which is really what's left, right? So we'll be able to see you better, Laura, if you close the curtains behind you, because the reflection of the computers on the glass. So any other comments, questions, things that were interesting, difficult? Thanks, Laura. One of the things for me when I want to get in touch with my spirituality is I've had an amazing experience last year doing a training in shamanic healing, in native shamanic healing. And I had an opportunity to meet 2 animal guides and a human spirit guide, which were not anything that I had connected with before last year. And I have no idea what this means, but the name Abalone came to me as the name of my spirit guide. So I recently bought this abalone shell. Gotta love Amazon for $8. So when I meditate and I want to connect with my spirit guide, I want her to know that I'm here and I'm welcoming her and that I'm open to her. So I always have my abalone shell right next to my meditation cushion and hold it. So I just share that with you to say, again, there's just individual things that we each, that have meaning to us and that we do. And it's hard. It's hard to just say, okay, let's drop down into spirit. And this is something that I've been practicing since I read, when I was 12 years old, a book on transcendental meditation. We could read any book we wanted for a book report. And I read a book on transcendental meditation. So, this journey has been a long time for me. I've been on a spiritual path for a long time. And still, having my abalone shell helps me connect with abalone. So I invite you to find whatever your particular ways are to get connected to spirit. So, and the shamanic journey is a whole nother topic. We could spend, weeks just on that. Amazing. Oldest spiritual practices on the planet are the shamanic practices, the native practices.
I want to, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's an area that I'm really, really interested in. And I have the whole Animal Speaks books, and I take a lot of guidance from, sightings or encounters with animals. And I seem to have, like, when I'm driving, I notice birds in flight, and it's different species. And I'm always like, well, did you see that? And my kids are like, where, what,
Mm-hmm.
and then I point it out and then they can see it. But I always see it first. But just day before yesterday, there were 4 hawks right in front of my house, flying back and forth like for 15, 20 minutes between 2 trees on either side of my street. And, it was one of those moments where I'm doing something in here and I'm like getting frustrated and I just hear the sound in the back and I look outside and I was like, what is this? And I just went outside and they just kept flying back and forth and then they just went away. And it was one of those moments where you just kind of go, huh, okay, and hawks are really powerful and they're really, their energy is really great. And even if there wasn't a meaning for me in that kind of realm of things, I just think the reminder to step outside and look up sometimes is really important, really helpful.
Get just beyond the basics of the everyday in your life.
Yeah.
And hawk is one of my spirit animals. I've never had spirit guides until last year, but I did have a hawk as a spirit animal. And I learned that in some tradition, there's so many, that means true seeing, that they have a visionary sight. So when hawks come, that's a reminder to you that you have sight and to expand your vision. Did it mean anything like that to you, Mariana?
Yeah, it did. It's I'm having a lot of frustration or fear around starting my own practice. As a Reiki healer and as a social worker, and I was actually working on that when I had that moment with them. And that's sort of the fear of stepping into it all. So it was nice.
There you go. You had perhaps some animal guides there to reassure you that there's a vision. They're holding that for you as they swoop around. I sort of see them swooping around you.
Yeah, it was really great. And I know that they're connected to the Kundalini energy, and so it was a nice gift of spirit, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. And animals, for those of you who ever have or do have pets, they're so tuned in, right, to spirit.
Yeah.
They blow we humans out of the water. And I don't know, Jasper might be, he's crying at the door, so I'm going to go let him out. I don't know, he might be a little overwhelmed by the energy, or else he needs a drink because I didn't bring his water in here. I don't know what. So, great. Anything else? Any other spiritual guides? For guidances, awarenesses.
I like this exercise a lot. I think it again, it's helping me be more aware. Like, I had a little epiphany, journaling after the last time we met, and one of the things that's holding me back was something that I guess I can kind of say, I'm struggling a lot with a job that I do well at, but it's very demanding and depletes me a lot. And, I would like to do something more, something different and a little bit more on my own, but I don't have enough money saved to do that. And there's a lot of guilt with how I could not have managed to save all this money over all these years. And so, but just to really be able to pinpoint that, and it was weird because after the last time we met and over the week I was writing down and made a true budget for myself this year, so just on the side, but now coming to the realization that this is really what I need, and if I can get to a certain number of months this year, I might be able to do something else that might be a little bit riskier but will hopefully be more fulfilling. So it's just helping me see this. It's holding me back. I'll be able to hopefully meet my goal if I can really work on this. So it was definitely eye-opening to do this exercise.
It's wonderful, Caitlin. And I want you, and I know everybody joins me on this, to have just what you want. And it might take some time, right? And there might be some steps, like you're saying, for some savings and some behavior changes to get you there. But I say go for it. One of my favorite lines in the Eagles song, the pop band, the Eagles, the song Already Gone, says, so oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even knew we had the key. Yeah. So these ways that we could free ourselves, which can be spiritually connect with the truth, and then you've got on the ground running, real budgeting and spending and saving changes.
Right.
So it's not like you pray, I want this to shower down on me, and then you win the lottery.
Right.
You may have to do some really hard work. I shared last week how I, ran that triathlon or did the swim, bike, run triathlon. That was a tremendous amount of hard work to be able to do that. I didn't just wish for it and do it. I trained. So on the ground running, absolutely. Say, do it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Because the question to ask ourselves, for you with what you want with your work, and for all of us, if you don't make any changes, how do you think a year from now that's going to be any different? Right? What's going to magically change if nothing changes inside of you or your behavior or your choices? Something has to give for there to be a different result. And what they say in AA, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Not really likely to happen. Anything's possible, but not likely to happen. So, so this whole thing about guidance and intuition, I have to go back and share with you, because you have to see this picture to get this one. This is going to be necessary. Okay, so there's that question again. From what source does your true, authentic voice speak? Perhaps asking yourself that question now, having dropped down into your spiritual connection, will be a little bit different. So here's a story for you. This is my great-great-grandfather, Leopold. And, for a Jew to have a picture of her great-great-grandfather and know who he was is really nothing short of a miracle. My family emigrated to the United States in the 1860s and some in the 1880s. So we were really lucky that we came here early enough that that I can know who some of these folks were. So he was somebody as a young adult who emigrated from what my grandfather called the Hungarian colony. I don't know exactly what that means, but I want to share with you this story. This is a true story. My grandfather, when my cousin went off to college, wrote a series of about 15 letters to all 4 of his grandchildren, which my father, on my grandfather's 80th birthday, bound into a book, which we call the Steinberg Chronicles. Oh, I don't know if you actually all see that? You see that book? It's just a bound book that my father made of all these letters my grandfather wrote to us, and included was the story of great-great-grandfather Leopold. So he and his parents and many siblings emigrated from what was Hungary at the time to Philadelphia, and eventually made their way to New York. And after the youngest of my great-great-great, his grandparents, kind of got the last of their kids married off, they went off to what was then Palestine. They were quite religious, and they felt that that's where they needed and wanted to be. So they left their children and some grandchildren they had and went off to Palestine. Of course, they had to go on a ship in those days. And they asked their son, this man, my great-great-grandfather Leopold, to please follow them someday. And he promised them that he would. So when he got to the ripe old age of 65, which was back then was actually quite old, he decided that, the last of his children were married off. That was sort of everybody is set. And he said, it is time to go to Palestine. And he felt pulled. He knew that he had this promise that he had made to them, but at that particular moment, they had died by then. His parents had died, but he felt this pull. He had to go. He had to go then. And he had to go knowing that he was never going to see his family in New York again, because, 65 was very old. It took months on the ship to get to Palestine. They all went down to the harbor at New York and in tearful goodbye. And my grandmother, who just died this year at 102, this was her grandfather. She remembers that day when they went, and she loved her grandfather. He was beloved to her, very pious man. And she said she was weeping. She knew she would never see her grandfather again. He said, what a decision. He promised his parents he would go, but he had this family here that he really felt connected to. And he rode on the ship. And when he got there, he wrote a letter to my grandmother's father, my great-grandfather, and said, now I know why I was drawn to come here. He found his parents' grave, and they had one for him. They had his name on it. They had it dug right next to them, and they knew that he would come. and that he would be buried there. And when my grandmother and her sister went to Israel, they actually found the graves. I have pictures of them, and it's on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, that my great-great-great-grandparents and my great-great-grandpa Leopold there in the Mount of Olives in Israel. So, what was it that tugged at him? Beyond just the promise that he made, there was that sense that I have to go. He had no idea that they had a grave for him there. And that's what they knew, that he would come. So what practices can we do to connect with our spirituality, to connect with our intuition? What rituals and practices? For him, he was a religious Jew, so prayer and kosher living and all the different things, observing Shabbat and all the things that he did, were his rituals were in a strictly Orthodox Jewish way of living. For me, I'm, four generations later, my spirituality is, has a Jewish piece to it. And there's also the Hindu and the Buddhist and the shaman and Native American, and all of it mixed in, the pagan all mixed in. So for you, what are the rituals and practices that work for you? And what traditions do you have, and which ones do you want to have, so that you can connect with your intuition and your spirituality? And we're going to talk about chakras. We're going to look at getting quiet, asking and listening, something as simple a practice in getting quiet and asking and listening. That's what we just did in the meditation. And that's what we're going to do when we meet our wise inner guides again in a little while. And nature and awe, we were talking about that a little bit. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, about connecting with nature and that having that sense of awe and a sense of gratitude. That's an amazingly important practice. A gratitude practice. If you've never had a gratitude journal, that is the number one thing that I recommend that you do. That takes maybe about 1 minute a day to write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And that will connect you to your spiritual connection and to your intuition very, very deeply. So I want to pause for a moment here if there's any comments, questions about my great-great-grandfather, about these practices. And I'll stop sharing for a moment to see if anyone wants to step forward. And, what practices do you have, religious, spiritual, or otherwise, that connect you to your soul, your intuition? Imagine if you were as clear as my great-great-grandfather was. He would have just died in the United States feeling guilty that he never fulfilled the promise and would never have even known that there was a grave there for him. So there was something he knew, and he did that listening and that asking, and had his own religious and spiritual practices to be in touch. So what works for you? I'll ask you to think about it. If you want to share what those are, you may be able to give an idea.
So I recently started the gratitude piece. I have some rituals and practices that I've been doing as well, but I just started the gratitude piece. And before I make my daily list of to-dos, I start with the 3 things that I'm grateful for. But it's a struggle sometimes, because I'm the roof over my head, my mom, this body, breath, the breakfast that I'm looking forward to. So it must get very repetitive, and I really haven't been doing it for very long. It's just been a few weeks. But, what do you think about the issue of monotony?
When it gets monotonous doing your gratitude journal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can certainly be grateful about the same things, but what I would suggest is see if you can expand to something that perhaps you have not connected to, so it doesn't get boring. And it is a muscle, right? To be grateful for, my eyes work and I woke up today and I'm looking forward to breakfast is great. And you can do that over and over again. But I would challenge you to be able to think of 3 different things that you haven't thought of in the last couple of days, or even if you've been doing it for a couple of weeks, to say, okay, I think I've done that one before. Is there something new that I can come to? And it's just a muscle, to think about things that you're grateful for. And it can be things in nature, activities, people, opportunities, things you have, ways that your body works, things that you enjoy doing. You can like the spiral, you know, see if you can go out more and more and more and ask yourself some more questions to challenge yourself about other things that you're grateful for. It might not get so monotonous.
Thank you.
Does that resonate? About 15 or 20 years ago, I've been journaling since right around the time I read that Transcendental Meditation book. I think 12 was a spiritual awakening for me. I completely forgot what I was just going to say. I've been journaling since I'm 12, but about 15 or 20 years ago when I did a gratitude journal, I did every single day for a year. And I don't think that I missed a day, or maybe I missed a day and then the next day I would do 6. But it changed my life to have the practice of focusing on gratitude. Just like when you meditate, it's really wonderful for that 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes. But the bigger thing is what it brings you to that you could remember, you know, sometime, another time that day, because each day you're meditating. And it's the same thing with the gratitude journal, that you can connect with what you're grateful for much more readily and easily when you've practiced doing it on an ongoing basis. So I think that's wonderful that you're already doing that, Emily. And it's something that I periodically do regularly, but you know, I'm one of those people, like when I make a commitment, I'm pretty rigid with it. And I said, you know, for an entire year I was going to do that, and it really was a happiness project for me doing that. As well as if those of you have ever heard of, or if you haven't done or heard of the Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. Does it sound familiar to any of you, this book?
Yes.
She wrote it specifically for, you know, artists, dancers, singers, writers, painters, you know, for people who are actually really artistic, which I am none of those things, but I actually did this book, and it's an interactive book where you actually do the program, where you write morning pages and there's questions and you read the chapter and you take yourself on an artist date every week. And it's an incredible, incredible journey for a spiritual practice. And I call it a 101 with falling in love with yourself. So in addition to doing a gratitude journal, I highly recommend Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. Really, really wonderful book. So let's go back to the screen again and move this over. So we can drop into how to raise your spiritual vibration. So just take a look at all these things. These are wonderful ways to raise your spiritual vibration. And I couldn't have created something better for this particular group than this, because there's a mind category in how to raise your spiritual vibration and a body category. So meditate, gratitude, giving and helping others. What an incredible way to lift up your own spirit and feel a greater meaning. Get beyond just your own have-to-dos and stuck in your own stuff. Stop watching TV. That's a big one. I'm pretty rigid on TV. I don't watch much unless it's really something that I want to watch, a movie or a TV show. And if you stop watching TV, you might do other things like meditate and move and journal. So that, you know, sometimes it's nice to have mindless TV, but turn your TV off every once in a while and see what you do. Thinking your own thoughts and spending time in nature. So those are some mind ways to raise your spiritual vibration. In your body, to stretch and move, detox, which I think is more of a nutritional detox. And this is so small, I can't see it. Ingest plants as food medicine. Breathe consciously. These are things we've talked about. Relax, get enough sleep, and walk barefoot. I was just reading an article the other day about it is actually healing in your mind and body to walk barefoot on the earth. And I'm somebody who, when it comes to about April until October, if I could literally not be wearing socks or shoes, I intuitively know that my feet need to be on the earth. You know, it's January in New England, so we're not really likely to walk barefoot outside these days. But when it is actually warm enough, or if you go someplace warm when it's still winter, I highly recommend that on a regular basis, you actually put your feet into the earth. So here's a really nice list of ways that you can raise your spiritual vibration. And what you're seeing there are the 7 chakras. We're going to get back to that in a minute. You see the colors of the spectrum in the different places on the body there.
Yeah. Do you remember?
So, Another suggestion. What's that, Laura?
Do you remember what article you read about the barefoot thing?
Do you know that I don't?
Okay.
I just read it in the last week, and I read 100 things
let me know.
a day. I don't remember where that came from, but
Okay.
just, if you're just curious to look up, the value of walking barefoot on the earth.
Yep.
It was something in preparation for the group today, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where.
Well, that's okay.
But this is an Eleanor Roosevelt quote that I love, to go beyond your limit. Do one thing every day that scares you. And how might that be something that expands your spirit? You just like I was saying to you, Emily, when you asked, what can you do to get beyond, the normal, just everyday boring gratitude list? How about going beyond your comfort zone? And by the way, when I say scares you, I don't mean something that's unbelievably dangerous or something that terrifies you. You know what I'm talking about here, right? Something that's just a little bit beyond your comfort zone, that will allow you not only to expand your belief about what is possible for you and what you can do, but it really helps you grow, go beyond what scares you. And, in promoting my new online business, I do a lot of Facebook Lives, and I certainly don't mind getting in front of the camera and talking, but I much rather do it with all of you here, and just doing a Facebook Live with nobody there. It can sometimes scare me. So today I did a Facebook Live. If you're not Facebook friends with me, you can become Facebook friends with me on Genesis Therapy and Coaching, or even my personal page. I did today a Facebook Live just on this topic. Do one thing every day that scares you. And I told the story about how I did a fire walk during my hypnotherapy training, how I walked over hot coals. I actually did do that. We did a shamanic trance dance for about 45 minutes to listen if we were guided, that it was safe to walk. And I got the guidance that it was. And there were 18 of us there, 16 of us walked. And I didn't burn my feet, and none of us burned our feet. And I do not understand how that happened, because we walked, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 steps. It was like 10 steps over coals that were really hot. So talk about something that scares you. that was definitely something that scared me. And, it was one of many, many things in my life that pushed me, to get to not doing something that was dangerous, but listening to that voice inside being guided, whether it was the right thing to do. And because I was guided, I believe I was protected. So switching now to another spiritual ritual. I had sent you the yamas and the niyamas, about the different philosophies of yoga. Did you all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that new for you, that yoga actually has a philosophy? Mm-hmm. A lot of people do not know that. I think that it's just the asana practice. When you go to a yoga class and you do your postures and your breathing, that's the asana practice here. That's the third of the 8-limb path. So I wanted to expand for you, this is just, tiny little tidbits and just exposure, that there's an 8-limb path of yoga, that the asana practice, the postures, is really just one. The yamas and the niyamas, which are the practices and the restraints, are a whole nother limb of yoga. And then pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, which is that final place of connecting and merging with the infinite, is sort of the ultimate goal of yoga. So just know that asana practice and those postures, and even the pranayama that we did last week, the breath work, those are only 2 out of the 8-limb path. So there's so much more that even yoga can give you on a spiritual journey, that there's ways you can study Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and there's, old, unbelievably powerful books. Yoga is, a 5,000 plus year practice. And there's a lot there. So this was an interesting little, I don't know if is this big enough for you to actually read? Some ideas of why to meditate: steadfastness, clear seeing, courage, attention. And the last one that she wrote was no big deal. To be able to cultivate this sense of just letting it roll off your back. So to develop that inner stillness, to develop that steadfastness or equanimity, that sense of clear seeing, again, getting to intuition, developing courage. That meditation can give you that courage, because it is hard to sit there and let the thoughts go, to sit there in stillness and sit with the sensations, to sit with the emotions and let them pass. That is not an easy practice. You know that I like to say it's simple but not easy. And you really develop a tremendous amount of courage when you meditate. and a sense of attention and that sense of no big deal. So there's a tremendous amount of benefit of meditation, and not just relaxing, but really mind control and changing your whole perspective in life. And what I read recently that was fascinating to me is that monks and priests who had 10,000 plus hours of meditation. Can you imagine if you had meditated for over 10,000 hours? That they had an incredibly deep capacity for pain, emotional pain, that they really opened up their hearts when they meditated that many thousands of hours. But what was amazing was they also had incredible resilience. So where they felt, unbelievable empathy and pain, they also could bounce back from that much more quickly. And could you see how by meditating, by saying, let me let that thought go, let me let that sensation, I notice it and let it go, and come back to my mantra, come back to my focus, come back to my breath, could be an amazing practice to give you that sense of resilience as well as empathy. And at Kripalu, where I did my yoga teacher training, we had this BRFWA, BRFWA is the acronym, an amazing practice of being that you can take to your meditation practice, or even just the way that you live your life. Breathe, relax, feel, watch, allow. So just take that in for a moment. What would it be like if, when you were making a decision, when you were trying to get in touch with your spirituality, when you were approaching a difficult situation, breathe, relax, feel, watch, allow. And I think my favorite is allow. Yeah. That there's just an acceptance there. You may not like it. You don't have to be attached to it. You don't have to be detached. That there's just an allowance. So I love that BRFWA. So I'll give you a moment to jot those down. And you can see how quickly we're going through this. Is such powerful information. So chakras and energy, they're powerful access points for self-awareness. You can use your chakras for change and growth, and you can learn to read others' energy by the chakra centers. And the chakras are the 7 physical energy centers in the body. The root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, which is the 4th chakra of the 7. And I think I said this to you when we were doing the body, that your heart is the connection between earth and spirit. The body and the lower connection and the spiritual. So the heart and the emotions is an amazing connection there. And then your throat chakra, free expression, communication, your 3rd eye, which is your intuition and awareness, and then your spiritual connection. So your basic trust, your sexuality, creativity, your wisdom, say wisdom, that one's hard to see, wisdom, power, that love and healing, communication, awareness, and spirituality. So we could do, months-long class on the chakras. This is just the most basic overview. The energy centers that sit in those 7 places in your body, starting at the root of your, the base of your spine and going all the way up to the crown of your head. And oftentimes the full spectrum of colors are associated with each chakra. So you can remember them because it's the Roy G. Biv, it's the spectrum, that each chakra is connected to one of those colors, in one of those places, and one of those themes. And what's amazing about the chakras, we often think of them just in the front of the body. If you can picture a cone, the point of the cone, like an ice cream cone, is at your body, and then the cone opens out so that your energy is sent out, not only in the front, but in that same place in your body and your back. So you can imagine a cone from the front of your body opening up and a cone in the back of the body opening up, and then the energy is going out. So your chakras are incredibly powerful places. They can spin, they can be open, they can be very blocked. And in the energy healing work that I do, I can feel where chakras are blocked and doing chakra balancing with tones. I've got actually a chakra, it's so old I have it, it's a CD. Different tones and sounds that move up through to do a meditation through all the chakras, or doing energy work and balancing to get them open. So, so I encourage you to be curious. I just started reading a book called Wheels of Life by Anodea, Anodea. I do not know how to say her name. Anodea Judith. The Wheels of Life is an amazing book if you're curious about energy and the chakra system.
How I found you was because
What's that?
how I found
What's that,
you. Yeah, how I found you as a therapist is I went to Canyon Ranch. That's when I first learned about chakras, and that opened my mind. Ever since that point, I've been mind, body, soul person. It was the most amazing experience to go there, and that was the first time that she had worked, like had offered it as a session, and she asked me what I thought. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever gone through in my entire life when it came to feeling energy, and just I've never felt anything like it again because it was the first time. So I highly recommend anybody that can get your chakras aligned or work with. It's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And something that I was always curious to do was to have my aura read, have this astral photography. And Steve and Josh and I went to Sedona last year, Arizona, which is on my bucket list. And I think I showed you pictures of the Grand Canyon last week. It was that same trip. This is an actual, I don't know whether this is actually true. I don't know. But it was really fun. This was a picture of me. Actually, if you could see it, I don't know if you look really closely, you can actually see my face right in the middle there. But this is the colors of my aura. And this woman, I literally walked in, and she owns this, she owns the Center for the New Age. It's the biggest New Age store in Sedona. She's the one who does the astral photography. I literally walked in. I had mine done first, and Steve and Josh had theirs too. She never met us before. Listen to it. I don't know if you can see what she said about me. The color indigo is I'm a spiritual teacher or counselor, that the angels are around me, which is the white, that I'm an earth angel, that I'm a speaker, a life coach, that I motivate and inspire others, and I'm protected by my guides. And she said, I'm a catalyst, and I need to speak my truth. This woman literally never met me in my life. I walked in, she took my picture, and that's what she got. So she convinced me and she got it exactly right for Josh and Steve too, and the three of us are all very different. So amazing. Can we take a picture of our energy? Can somebody read it? It's not a skill that I have, but I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was really, really incredible. So all of these practices, all of these ways to tap in. And I wanted to get back to that sense of awe. Sometimes you don't have an opportunity, to study the chakras or to get your astral photography done, but connecting with nature, even when it's cold out, sometimes it can be looking out your window. How do you experience awe? And we did this in one of our groups the other week. I believe that it was last week. I wanted you to just sit again with these pictures, just connecting with nature, that sense of awe. How could you, I always say, and I've always said to Josh since he's little, this is God's paintbrush. How could there not be, for me, this is my interpretation, how could there not be a God? That this is proof to me that there has to be a greater being. This is beyond anything that we could create or imagine. What paintbrush, what palette could be created that's more beautiful than what we see in nature? Look at this one. That sense of all the stars and the galaxies, and then that beautiful little moon. So connecting with that sense of awe for you, whether it's nature, whether it's animals, it's just contemplating the universe, really unbelievable ways to connect with your spirit. So I wanted to give you a chance to ask any questions or make any comments, and then to spend a little time with your wise inner guide before our time runs out. Any comments, questions? Yoga, the 8 limbs, meditation, chakras, energy, awe, nature. Big, big topics. So let's dive back in and meet our inner guides again. So close your eyes, get yourself comfortable. And as you take a breath, allow yourself to see that path again before your mind's eye. And walk down that path, or glide, or float, or swim, or fly. And as you take each step or glide on each stone on that spiritual path, I want it to be clear to you as you take each step, what were the key spiritual events or moments or experiences of your life? They could be small, they could be huge, it could be life-changing, like Laura shared her experience with chakras the first time, or it can be a beautiful hike or experience with a person, a place that you had. What have been your key spiritual events? Walk down the path, how to boost your energy and your intuition. What is your spiritual foundation? What are the rituals, practices, and traditions that serve you and expand your spirit? So as you walk the path, coming closer to the clearing, to once again meet your wise inner guide, come with awareness of those spiritual experiences, those peak moments. Connecting to what moves you, what boosts your energy and opens your intuition. And what rituals, practices, or traditions do you have or do you want to have? And as you ponder all of this awareness, see ahead of you a clearing and come to that cabin, to that dwelling, a place that you recognize because you've been there. And knock on the door and slowly have your 85, 90-year-old self welcome you back in. And find a place where you're comfortable together, having in your heart your key spiritual moments. She knows them, she is you. And what traditions and rituals have served you. And perhaps she can share with you some rituals, traditions, or practices that will serve you, that haven't yet at the age you are now, but she lets you know that they will. She is your wise inner guide. She has lived for decades beyond. And ask her, how can you connect with gratitude? And what is calling to you now? Ask her to guide you on how to be more connected to your purpose, to your path, to your spiritual connection and gratitude. And have her take your hands in her hands and look down at the wrinkled skin, the thin skin, the age spots. Feel the dry warmth of her hands, your elderly hands in yours. What is calling to you now? What can she tell you? What do you need to receive? What do you need to hear? There is no right or wrong, just what is. And feel a sense of gratitude for her And her unbelievable sense of gratitude for you is the twist of time travel, is that part of the reason that she is who she is and what she's experienced and what she's become at her elderly age is because of what you are doing right now at this age. The openness and depth and the commitment that you have to your beliefs, the expansion of your beliefs, the health and wellness of your body, your spiritual path, and honoring your soul is what made your life worth living. And she feels that. She's lived it. So gratitude for her, but her gratitude for you. And let yourself know that there's nothing more important than this clarity and this guidance. And that you're committed to doing whatever it takes to stay on this path and fulfill what she is guiding you is coming and is possible. So breathe together. She is so wise. She's always there for you. And as the time to part for now is arriving, let your hand slip from her hands and feel a heart connection and a promise to come back and visit again and again. And as you prepare to leave this dwelling, have inside of your heart and living alive in your spirit some answers as to what is calling to you now, what practices and rituals and traditions are being offered or suggested. And make your way back down the path to come right to where you are now, slowly walking, gliding, flying. And as you come back into where you're sitting now, I'll read to you from the 7 steps to the prosperity consciousness. Step number 7, which is dedication. I go out into my life with a spirit of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. I believe that I will receive abundance without my making any of these things the object of my existence. I am at peace. So breathe that knowing and rub your hands together till you feel that heat, that warmth. And just place your hands on your eyes with the fingertips towards your hairline and the palms of your hands on your cheeks. And just let your hands slowly glide off of your eyes and let your eyes come to open. And come back to each other, feeling enlivened and inspired. And if there's anything that you want to write down or share out loud about what is calling to you now, or rituals or practices, that sense of gratitude. Your inner guide is so wise. She has lived so long. You know what you need to know. You know what to feel, what to do. Of course, the big step is how to do it. Once you know, you can then do it. I'm going to share the screen one last time. So take this guidance deep into your heart, into your body, into your spirit. And I ask you, where is your retreat? There needs to be a time or a place. Ideally, I would personally love to go to this cabin right here. There's a beautiful place about an hour and a half west of Boston called Temenos. I believe the cabins are $45 a night. Looks a lot like that, actually. If you're looking for an actual retreat, that's a wonderful place to go. There's no running water, outhouses, and a pump for your water, kerosene lamp. But it may be your retreat is in your bedroom. It may be your retreat is at a spa or at the Four Seasons Hotel or at a friend's house or a hike. But I encourage you to find time and place for a retreat. And you must do the thing you think you cannot do. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. I'm going to share with you the moments in my life that were my powerful spiritual experiences. And we'll reflect together on what's the next step. This group will officially be ending tonight, although we will have our follow-up bonus meeting on getting on track and staying on track. That will be more of a process of what do you each want to put into place. So for me, at age 18, I found yoga. At age 25, I found meditation. 29, I did my first sweat lodge. And my spirit got the message that I needed to change my name to my Hebrew name, which I did do when I was 31. 2 years later, Devorah is my Hebrew name. My name was Jill until I was 31. That is a true story. At 35, I became bat mitzvah. The tradition is to do at age 13, but I never did. At 41, I became a mother. At 45, I started doing annual silent solo retreats. And at age 53, this past year, I did shamanic journey to find and introduce me to my spirit guides. So I just share those with you as those examples. Remember, I said in the beginning, everyone's spiritual journey is so different. And I don't share that with anything other than just saying, it was an amazing experience to go through my own spiritual autobiography. What were those highlights at those different ages? And I thought, wow, at 53 now, it's been a cumulative experience. Starting, for me, the first one was when I discovered yoga at age 18. That's a long time. That's a 35-year journey with all these experiences that have been building. So what is the next step for you? And your wisdom map, your poster board is a guide for you, your journal, your personal path to personal transformation workbook, the handouts. I encourage you to print out all the handouts that I sent you and keep them together. And we're going to meet together on the getting on track, staying on track, because this stuff is really tough. You have all these ideas and all this inspiration now, but I really want this to stick for you. I want you to take in maybe 1 or 2 new practices or traditions or rituals. Not all of them, not every single one of them, but maybe 1 new thing. Maybe 2 new things that you can introduce daily or weekly or monthly that will change your experience, that can guide you to some of those spiritual and emotional and body-oriented breakthroughs. And I'm so excited that I'm going to roll this group into a longer-term group. It's going to be an 8-session group that will meet over 4 months. And I haven't quite, you can help me come up with the name because it's going to be new. This group that we just finished is called The Path to Personal Transformation, but this one's going to be the Soul Journey, something. Still working on it, but that will be starting in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that when we do our Getting on Track, Staying on Track. And you will each have an opportunity to do a one-to-one with me following this. If you didn't remember that this was part of the deal, to do a one-to-one, we can do a call or a video call or meet in person if we're going to really follow up with what were the takeaways and what do you want to put into place. You know, the ongoing group will be one option, and there are infinite numbers of other options. And I encourage you to have support and accountability and guidance. You know, doing these things alone is nearly impossible. I've gotten to this point because I have realized that I cannot do this alone. And each of those things that I shared, you know, starting at age 18 till this past year with the shamanic journey, always involved other teachers and other guides or accountability partners or buddies. Somebody actually mentioned on one of the surveys, could we exchange information, you know, each other's contact information? And I'll send a message out and see if everybody's comfortable with that, so that you can reach out to each other. This is an ongoing journey that we're doing together. So I could not feel more, talk about gratitude. I could not feel more blessed or more grateful that the 8 of us have had this opportunity for the last 3 weeks to journey together on this process. And I had made a suggestion to meet at this time next week. Hillary, you had mentioned that isn't going to work for you. No. Just while we're here in the last minute or two, because I want to respect your time. And is there anybody else that cannot do? It'll be a little shorter. It'll be more like 7:30 to 8:30. Caitlin, you can't do next Monday either? Okay. Anybody else? I want to make sure I can see all of you. Okay, so if 2 out of 7 of you can't do it, then I would say let's not do it then. I'm going to send out a doodle poll by tomorrow and ask you to, hopefully we can find a time that all 8 of us can do. All 8 of us were able to do this. I think we could do it. If we did it in 2 weeks, just out of curiosity for Caitlin and Hillary, if we did 7:30 2 weeks from tonight, does that work for everybody? If not, I'll send out a doodle poll.
Yes.
I think I can do
Yes, that works for you, Emily.
Yep.
Caitlin, do you know?
I think so. Yes, I'm pretty sure. I'll double check after this, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that works.
I just looked. I'm good.
You have a sense?
I'm good.
Yes. Okay, so maybe it's just a matter of waiting 2 weeks. Okay, Trisha?
No, that doesn't work for me, unfortunately.
It doesn't work for you? Okay. So I'll send out a doodle poll and see if we can find a time that works for all 8 of us. And, you know, if we have to push it out a couple of weeks, it won't be longer than 2 or 3 weeks, but I'd really like to try to find a time that all of us can do together, but you will all have a one-to-one with me regardless. So blessings to you. You know, put your arms around yourself to thank you for being here. This experience would not have been what it was for everyone. You are an absolute necessary part of this journey. There's only so much that one person can do. There's only so much that I can do. And there's only so much that you can do alone. So if you get nothing out of this group, other than you have to continue to have that guidance or teacher, the accountability and the support, that is the way that you make the changes. It does not happen alone. It's not meant to. We're not meant to be hermits. We are social beings on a spiritual journey, and we need each other. So any final comments, questions, anything that you feel like, I really wanted to share this before we go, and don't cut me off before we do?
No, but thank you.
No, this was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is the very first time this group has ever happened, and you are the only ones who could say you were the first ones to do it. It won't ever be exactly like this again, because it never is.
Never.
But if you have friends, I'll be offering this live like this a couple of times a year, and we'll be doing a much deeper ongoing group. This was the skimming the surface, but we're gonna go much deeper in the soul group.
Great.
And just wish nothing but peace for all of you, you and your wise inner guide who's always with you. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. I will look forward to being in touch with all of you. You'll get a doodle poll. We'll try to find a time that all 8 of us can convene, or the maximum number that we can possibly get. And I'll send out the recording again and another survey, so you can share whatever you'd like to share. And I wish you a blessed evening, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.